Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning with 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. My guest today is John Underwood. John is an entrepreneur, a businessman who lives in London, UK, and he has started a movement that I have found most fascinating and want to share with you. A few years ago, John founded something called Death Cafes. And these Death Cafes are events where you can meet with other people to talk about death and dying. And there's a lot of interesting conversations that come up in those meetings and highlight one of the challenges in our society about the taboo around talking about death. So welcome, John.
Hi.
It's great to have you here. Thank you. John, I'm really have had a great time talking with you. We've recorded some other videos today about Death Cafe, what they are, how to join the movement, how to participate. But as I said, I think it's kind of what you're doing is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that what's wonderful too is the way it's brought the conversation about dying into the open, and I think a lot of people who have are going through the experience of an elderly parent or someone in their family who is not well, and how to talk to those people about dying, how to be constructive in the conversation. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I mean, what would be your advice to someone who is going through a situation with a dying family member or a friend?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. And, this is something that a lot of us have had to deal with. And, we're not really set up to deal with it because death is kind of hidden away, a hidden phenomenon.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of fear associated with it. So, that makes it challenging in a lot of cases to kind of be with someone who's dying, especially someone's that's close to us.
Yes.
And I think the number one thing is just about presence, just allowing yourself to be there and to be with them, not coming with a very sort of strong agenda of needing them to say something or needing them to be a certain way, but to be open to the situation as much as possible, which can be extremely difficult if it's exceptionally painful. But as much as possible, bringing oneself and being open to the situation and just being willing to sit there with that person who's dying. And I think, in my experience, dying people can kind of sense that openness, and there's
open up,
and they can open up themselves.
I think. Sorry.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say that I think it actually starts with the medical profession because years ago, I think I mentioned I work with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who is an author of a book on death and dying. And I remember her telling me that, when she went into the hospitals to talk to dying patients for her book, the doctor said, "No, we have no dying patients here." And, that nurses and doctors became her primary audience for trying to get them to talk to their patients openly. Do you find that's true?
No, absolutely, I do. And, we, thanks to the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and Cicely Saunders and certain others, we've got palliative care now, the modern hospice movement, which, is more accepting around death and dying.
Yes.
But the interface between kind of mainstream curative medicine and palliative medicine is extremely poor in a lot of cases. And 60% of us in the UK die in hospital. It's not where we want to die, but that is where we die. And the doctors who are treating us don't necessarily make the switch between working to keep us alive and helping us die very well.
Yes.
And so that can create a very challenging context to kind of have these conversations. And if it can lead to the person who's dying not knowing that they're dying, not ever being told, and sort of make it more difficult for them to be open about their own feelings, for risk of upsetting people, for all sorts of other reasons. So that kind of context is very challenging.
Yeah, I think doctors and family are always trying to be a bit heroic. They want to try to
Yeah.
keep everyone alive till the very last minute and do everything they possibly can and keep
Yeah.
doing the treatments. And it doesn't give a dying patient the opportunity to come to grips. And another thing that Elizabeth used to talk about a lot was this concept of unfinished business, that
Yes.
dying with awareness, gives you the chance to actually finish business, make that phone call,
Yes.
send that email,
Yeah.
write that note.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and being with someone who's dying, we can play a sort of crucial role in facilitating that.
Yes.
If we're aware that the person who's dying wants to do something, then we can be really crucial in kind of helping them to achieve their wishes. But sometimes that can be clouded by our own feelings, especially if, the person who's dying is someone who we've had a difficult relationship with in the past. And
Yes.
if the things that they're wanting to do in terms of unfinished business aren't the things that we think they should be doing in terms of unfinished business. So, I mean, if someone's dying who's close to you, you need to kind of prepare for your own stuff to come up, your own things about that relationship to come up, and those things not necessarily to be taken care of by the same process by the person who's dying. So you kind of need to arrange some self-care, people you can talk to who are safe in terms of being outside the situation, who will just listen to you and support you and sort of recognize the emotional toll that this will take on oneself, and engage in practices of self-love and nurturing and remembering your value, because all of these things can be eroded by being present with someone who's dying.
Yeah, it's really, like you said, it's very, very challenging though, because I mean the relationships are complex in life, but when you get approaching death, you've got this it magnifies. It's like a magnifying glass on everything.
Yes.
I know that with children, one thing that has been used is drawings.
Yes.
And using other ways to sort of get a person to talk about their vulnerability or their fear of death, and and then so come in other words, come at it kind of at an angle. Like, don't just say, well, are you aware that you're dying? And, just to say, how are you feeling today? Can you draw me a picture? Tell me how you're feeling. And then you'll see the little kid holding a stop sign, saying stop.
Yeah.
And then, there's a, story there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's about giving the opportunity for people to say things that they might need to say, but you can't really be attached to it, because some people, they never want to admit they're dying, and death happens anyway. It's not a prerequisite, and we can't afford to make it so. We can't. Well, if we go into a situation like this with a lot of expectations and wishes and needs, then we're kind of setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Okay, yeah.
Really, I think, even if the person who's dying is very close to one, it's important to remember that ultimately it's their show.
Exactly.
It's down to them. It's about them, and we need to kind of be there and present and supportive for that as much as we can. I mean, obviously there are certain situations which are very difficult indeed, and we need to kind of even absent ourselves from them in turn to look after ourselves. But otherwise, we kind of need to be there, and roll with the program is going to require the depths of your resources, all your flexibility, all your presence, all your love, all your care. And, even though it's obviously sad that someone's dying, there can be incredible upsides in terms of great healing, great beauty, enormous transformation. And ironically, the death of someone can be one of the most beautiful, transcendent experiences in life.
Yes, and I think that if you're honest with the person at the very beginning, when they've got some clarity, you then don't have to lie. So, for example, the common thing to say is, "It's okay. You're going to be better. Like in 6 weeks, we're going to go on holiday. We'll take that vacation," and it's never going to happen. Instead saying something like, "Oh my gosh, do you remember that amazing trip that we took to wherever, to Italy together, and have a look at nostalgia, being the source of energy and power. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Creativity and openness and flexibility are all essential qualities. And, so many people have these qualities in spades, they can really apply them. And you just need to kind of bring your A game, be very flexible, roll with the program, and look after yourself through the process as well. Don't give everything and neglect to look after yourself, because that can lead to a lot of problems.
Yeah. Well, I think this is really great advice. I mean, I know that some people may have mixed feelings about how to deal with a loss like this. And the death cafes, I presume, are for people who have maybe lost someone and, want to talk about something that they regret doing or they wish they had done. And maybe that comes up a lot in your death cafe conversations.
Yeah, no, certainly it does. I mean, it's really aimed at people who aren't going through an intense bereavement process or who aren't kind of dealing with the raw reality of death, because it's a discussion format and it's kind of a 2-hour session or sometimes even less. And if you've got, if there's a lot going on around death for you, then maybe you need something a bit more individual and a bit more ongoing. But Death Cafe can help, and that's what it's there for. If you want to talk about death, if you want to hear other perspectives, if you want to air stuff out, then that's a great place to go.
Yeah. And also on your website, I know that there's lots of information, and you have a blog, don't you, as well?
Yeah, there's a blog on there, lots of resources. There's art, videos, write-ups of death cafes and listings of death cafes as well.
Yeah. I think the whole thing, from my understanding, a little, that I've reached today talking to you, is that it's a place where death is being demystified, where you just get to be real and human with others that are wanting to be there too, and to hold you up together, hold each other up together.
Absolutely. And, no, that's it. 100%.
That's great. Well, I really wish you all the success. I know that you have a campaign going on right now in London to try to open a real cafe, a physical shop. And do you want to tell us a bit about, it's a Kickstarter, self-funded initiative?
That's right. It's so we think, death cafes have shown there's an awful lot of people who want to talk about death at some point, and there's an awful lot of good work around death, both death cafes as they stand, but also around the arts, films, music, poetry, more practical things, filling in wills, advanced decisions, more philosophical things. And the Death Cafe London would be a place to host all this kind of work. It'd be a coffee shop open to the general public, but specifically to facilitate engagement with death. And we're trying to fund it by the sale of community shares. So it'd be a not-for-profit venture. It'd be owned and run by the community. But the cost of getting something off the ground like this in London is extremely high.
Yes.
So maybe it's going to take us a good while to get there, but this is what we're focused on.
Well, all those benefactors out there who are looking for a great cause to support, this is one for sure.
Indeed.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it. We'll put the details, by the way, in the article that will accompany this video so that people can follow up if they like. And they can just go to your website too, deathcafe.com, and get all the details. So.
It's all there, yeah.
Thank you so much, John, for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.